The greatest commandment is to love God and love our neighbor. But how can we love people well when we sometimes feel we have very little left to give? Hi, I'm Father Kevin Zubel, a Redemptorist missionary here in the Diocese of Baton Rouge, and I serve as chaplain to the Hispanic Apostolate. In my ministry in the Apostolate, I accompany a lot of families who are stretched to the limit in trying to make ends meet. I meet mothers and fathers who work 2, sometimes 3 jobs, and sometimes in confession, and this often breaks my heart, people will say, Father, I know that I should do more in the church, that I should do more to serve God, but I have nothing left to give. Every minute of my time is taken up just trying to keep my family going, just trying to keep food on the table. And that breaks my heart because it shows sometimes that we don't understand the many different ways that we can love people well, and how when we love people well, we are giving great glory to God. And so I wanted to turn to a passage that many of us have heard time and time again, but I want to reflect on it in a different way. And this is Micah 6. And in Micah 6, we hear this beautiful call to give of ourselves, not out of a question of wealth, not out of a question of our resources, but to give of our very selves and to discover that that is what God is truly asking of us. And I want to reflect on that in light of the cross and resurrection of Jesus Christ and how that reveals to us the love that Jesus demonstrates on the cross, and to reveal that when we feel we have very little left to give, perhaps we haven't recognized how much we have truly given in glory to our God. And so this passage from Micah 6 reads, "With what shall I come before the Lord and bow before God Most High? Shall I come before him with holocausts, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with myriad streams of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my crimes, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? You have been told, O man, what is good, and what the Lord requires of you, only to do the right and to love goodness and to walk humbly with your God." Now, what does this reveal to us about what Jesus taught us about love from the cross? Well, Jesus, we know as the firstborn of our fathers, the one who has given his life for the salvation of all. We know that he did indeed, as this passage says, that the firstborn was given for our transgressions. And yet, that act of love on the cross reveals so much more and is so much and extends so far beyond that moment in time. Because it reveals for us, as we understand from Micah 6, what it is that God's love calls us to do the right, to love goodness, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God. And so it's a way of being in the world. It's a way of offering ourselves in love to one another in the small things and in the great things that we do. That those sacrifices that families make to put food on the table, that the sacrifices that so many families are making to keep the kids educated, to try and keep on top of things and to try and manage the family and all the struggles that we've been enduring this past year, that all of those reveal the things that God has called us to, the things that give him joy, the things that he knows will bring joy to our world. That we are walking humbly with him. We are partnering with him in bringing his love to bear in every moment and aspect of our lives. That we do the right. That we do what we know needs to be done out of love, sometimes at great sacrifice to ourselves. And that we love goodness, that loving kindness. There's a word in Hebrew, chesed, that translates in many different ways, sometimes mercy, sometimes loving kindness. But what it ultimately means is a love that acts, a love that creates. And when I think of families gathered around the table, when I think of families sharing their lives of lifting up one another, when I think of communities walking with each other in times of crisis and times of struggle, I can't think of more powerful examples of loving kindness. And so know and trust that when you do these things to serve your family, to serve your neighbors, you are in very powerful ways serving the Lord and serving the church. So maybe you don't have time to do this or that ministry. Maybe you don't have time to volunteer like you were able to in the past. But trust me, you are doing great service to the church every time you reveal God's love to those around you. And by revealing God's love to those around you, revealing the love of the kingdom that is always creating something new, that is always renewing the face of the earth.